Hey, welcome to day 6 of the JavaScript series, loops. Today we'll be learning about some loops. We'll be working on some exercises for the loops. This is from the GitHub, the Aspen again GitHub. So if you want to learn about loops, please go to the original GitHub. You'll find the lessons there. These are just the exercises for the lesson. We're on the 6th day. The GitHub repo will be in the description if you want to check out the rest of the days. All right, the first thing we're doing is iterating from 0 to 10 using a for loop, a while loop, and a do while loop. So the for loop is, you write the for, you put a curly brackets, let I equals to wherever you want to initialize at. It can be any letter, but I is, like index. So yeah. And then I less than 11, I plus plus to get it to go in what plus plus if you want it to go up, a negative negative if you want it to go in the other direction. Then you put what you want it to do to each iteration of the loop in the curly braces. So in this case, we have a I equals 0, so we're starting the loop at 0. So start from the 0 index, and then we're looping up until 11. So it should keep looping until it gets to 11. If you wanted to include 11, you have to put equal, less than or equal to 11. But in this case, we wanted to stop at 10. So we said less than 11, and we're gonna, go upwards. We're gonna keep counting forwards. So what the loop does is creates indexes. So let's say if I, you see I pushed I, so it's just putting 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it looped 10 times, and then it just logged the index that it created. It created a number for each index. So the 0 is the 0th index, and the 10th is the 10th index. You can start at any index you want and just work from there. All right, for the while loop, it's a let array. I created the extra array outside so that I can push stuff into it instead of just console.login in the loop. I would just push the result into the array that I declared outside of the loop. Because anything you do in the loop applies every single iteration. It's not just it's not gonna just give you one result. So if I had put that array inside the for loop, it would have given me 10 different arrays and try to perform those operations on those 10 different arrays. The while loop is just a while this is true, do this. So, while A is less than or equal to 10, push A into the previously declared array. And a do while loop is just so do this while this is true. So we said do array.push B, and then I forgot how to say it, to make it go up. Increment. We increment B while B is less than or equal to 10 is true. And once again, I just pushed it into the array just to keep it external. It's neater, it looks better that way, and it's less confusing for me. So there, that's basically the basics of loops. I didn't do a very good job explaining, but you just know that whatever happens in the loops, it does it however many times you want. Your conditions are the first thing is you have to declare where you want it to start from. And then you have to tell it up to what point, at what point should it stop looping. And then you either increment or decrement the loop, depending on what you need it to do. Like in this case, we're iterating from 10 to 0 using a for loop, a while loop, and we're doing the same thing we just did, but with we're going backwards. We're counting down instead of up. So you see in this case, we started at the last index. That is, since we're counting down, we're gonna start from where we want to count down from. Now we want it to stop when it gets to 0. So I greater than or equal to 0, and then I negative negative, that is to decrement. And then we're pushing I into the, into the array. Array. Same thing with the while loop. While C is less than or equal to 10, and C is greater than or equal to 0, then we push C into the array, and then we decrement. The big problem with the while loop for me was like remembering to decrement or increment. I just kept forgetting that. Because in a for loop, you see it's there, like it's part of the for loop. So yeah, you don't forget it. But for some odd reason, I just kept forgetting in the while loop, and it would just break. The code would break. Like it wouldn't know what to do. Or I created a few like just forever loops. It just kept running. It was weird, but we got through it somehow. But same thing with the do while loop. So basically, we're saying do, that is, push D into array 6 while D is less than or equal to 10. And D is greater than or equals to 0. The condition is just what's different. And the for loop is so much easier. It's way preferable. It's just easier to remember. If I had choice, I would need. If it wasn't an exercise, I would just go with a for off loop because that's just easier. But that only works, I think, for arrays. So yeah. But yeah, on to the next one. We're iterating from 0 to n. So it's still the same thing. We're just going from 0 to whatever number you want to go to. That you can loop as many times as you want. There's no limit. You set the limit on how long or how many loops occur. But I don't know what's going on. Okay, I forgot to create the array to store the values. So okay, I'm gonna use a plain old for loop. That's just easier for me. It's just easier to work with for me. I think even before this exercise, I wouldn't have actually even thought about using a while or a do while loop. I don't really think about those loops very much. But yeah, so I chose 20 to we're looping up. We're going up to 28 items in the array. I thought that was a pretty big number. And then one thing I do, like I had to remember, was that I is just the index of the loop. Like it's not an actual, like it's not a string or anything. That's just the index of the loop. Like that's an important to remember. It comes in handy later, and you have to do other things. But here we're trying to create that pattern. It basically looks like half a pyramid. I think if you've done the Free Code Camp JavaScript series, you'll remember it. But I think on Free Code Camp we used the hashtag symbol, and we created a pyramid out of that. Yeah, it's basically the same exercise, but this time we're using an @ symbol. This one, you take advantage of the fact that the I is an index, and you just repeat the symbol at that index. So you tell it to repeat the symbol as the number as much as whatever index you're on. So when you're index 1 or 0, it only shows 1. When you're on index 1, it shows 2, etc., etc. But this one stumped me because I'd forgotten about. I just didn't know what to do. I was so lost. Like what the? Like I tried so many different ways. Then I asked, and apparently it's a repeat. So you have to repeat the symbol at I. So yeah, well, first you have to store the symbol as a string outside of the the loop, and then you repeat it in the loop. So yeah. And then to get it to look like that, you have to use the join with a / new line, and you should get that symbol. It was not easy for me, I guess, because I'm still, so it was just, I was like, what the hell? It was insane. It took way longer than it should have. Because I kept trying to use the symbol in the loop without the repeat method. I thought there would be a way to make the loop do that without using, but yeah. Anyways, we figured it out, and then it worked out. So anyway, this one we're logging a simple math function. So once again, we're taking advantage of the index. Like, we wanted to square every index or every number that we wanted to square every iteration of the loop. So 1 squared, 2 squared, 3 squared, 4 squared, etc., etc. So yeah, we use math dot square. Wait, math dot, which one was this? I can't see. Math dot power. I'm sorry, math dot power. The I of I and 2. So we raise every index to the power of 2, or every I to the power of 2. And I just use template strings to make it look like it looks in the example that is like a math problem. Like 0 times 0 is equals to 0. 1 times 1 is equals to 1. I guess I could have done it in such a way where it looked like 2 raised to the power of, or 3 raised to the power of. I just wanted to make it look exactly like the example text, I guess. So yeah, there you have it. We did that. The dot join / new line was a new thing for me. I kept trying to do that in the loop. And I got like a shit ton of stuff in my console. It was ridiculous. So yeah, then I later realized that you have to do it outside of the loop one, and you will do it on the final result. So anyways, we're doing the same thing here. We're raising it to both the square, and then we're cubing it. So yeah, we basically did the same thing, and using a template string, we joined it and we got the same results. The math functions came pretty useful. I mean, you could have written I times I, but that's just a whole lot of writing. The math power just like fixes it. It takes the whatever number, I think they call it the base, and then whatever power you want to raise it to is the second value. Waiting for it to finish writing. I guess I could ramp up the speed on these parts, but I don't know. Maybe moving forward, I'll start doing that. Because I notice I spend a lot of time just watching the code. I type really slowly to me. But then, you can like hear me thinking as I'm typing it, like, like I'm mentally trying to work through it as I'm typing. But yeah, then we should have it. Loops are fun once you get them. Like they make life so much easier. But before you get it, it gets a little. It seems like a thing. But I think once I understood the fact that I was, what I was doing, the part for me is writing what goes into that little square brackets. I mean the little brackets that come after the 4. That was the part that used to stomp me for some odd reason. Like I understood that I equals 0 is the start. That I got, but I was always confused about what to write in that second part, the I less than or equal to 10 part. That was always an issue for me. I just couldn't understand. And then I plus plus, that's easy. It's always gonna be the I plus plus or I minus minus. So that part is easy. It was just that middle section. That's where I always mess up. I was not sure. I'm always quite unsure what to put in that middle section. But yeah, after a few weeks though, it became second nature. I was like, because it's usually just less than the length of whatever you are trying to just. That's usually it. There's some cases so far where it's not been that, but usually that's been what you needed to put there. All right, then we have iterate from 0, more iterating from 0 to 100 with a for loop, and log only the even numbers. So this is just to continue. That's what I like about this repository. Like he basically teaches you one thing in one exercise, and then you use that thing that you learned in the previous exercise over and over. So here he's just combining finding the even numbers in an array with the loop exercise. The same way we usually find the even length of an array. You check if the number divided by 2 is equal to 0. I mean, leaves no remainders. When you divide the number by 2, if it leaves no remainders, then if it leaves no remainders, then it's an even number. If it leaves remainders, then it's a odd number. So here, there we have it. We have all the even numbers from 0 to 100. And then we're gonna do the same thing again for the odd numbers. And this is level 1 stuff, so easy stuff. Less than or equal to 101. I don't know why I put less than or equal to 101. It should be less than 1. 101 if I was gonna go with that route, or less than or equal to 100. I don't know what I was thinking. But I like I said, I still, that part is still, that part is still hard for me. It's not hard. I'm just still not, very confident in my looping when it comes to that. But thankfully, we got to hire the order functions, and that became less of an issue. I even forget about the for loop most of the time. But now we're okay. If it doesn't, if you divide the number by 2 and it leaves a remainder, then it's an odd number. So this should log all the numbers, odd numbers between 0 and 100. All right, there you go. 1, 3, 5, 7, all the way up to 101. Okay, I think it's where I noticed that I was going over 100, which isn't, I mean, it's not wrong. It's just not what the exercise asked me to do. I was just doing way more than the exercise asked for. And I am sweating bricks for reasons unknown to me. It's supposed to be fall here, but it's, for some odd reason, really, really hot. It's like, it's ridiculously hot. Well, it's hot to me. All right. This time we're iterating from 0 to 100, and we're only logging the prime number. So prime number is a number that can only be divided by itself and 1. And we check for that in JavaScript by, I think we loop from that number, or from the first prime number, which is 2. 1 cannot be a prime number. So from 2 all the way to the square root of the number. And if we find any that leaves a remainder, then it's not a prime number. So that stops the loop. This one requires us to use a break. But yeah, you basically, first you create a variable to, Boolean to store when something is true. Like if it's prime, it's true. So then you create another for loop in the original for loop, hence the J. The J still does the same thing as the I, but this is an inner loop. So we say if I remain the J, that is if we divide the array, which is the array of 0 to 100, by a number from an array of that number, of the first prime number, which is 2, all the way to the square root of the number. And if it leaves a remainder, then if it doesn't leave a remainder, then it's not a prime number. That is, if that number can be divided by any other number than itself and 1 and not leave a remainder, then it's a prime number, which makes its prime false. And if it's, so we then created another if statement that says if it is a prime number, that is if it fulfills those conditions, then push it into the prime numbers array, and there we have the prime numbers between 0 and 100. So moving on, we have an iterate from 0 to 100, another one, I think with a for loop, or was it? With a for loop, and log the sum of the even and sum of all the odd numbers. Okay, yeah, so basically the same thing. We use the for loop to get to loop, and then we do the check for evens, and then we do a check for odds. Now I'm doing less than 101. Yeah, okay, so yeah, that's better. That's right. I don't know why I was including 101 before, but that's how it's supposed to be. So if I remainder 2 equals 0, and sum of the evens plus or equals to I. So basically add all the values in the array and make that the sum of evens. The sum of evens is 0, so we're adding the sum of all the numbers plus 0, basically. And then sum of odds, we do the same thing. That is if if the number is not even, then add all the sum of the numbers that are not even to 0, and then template string just to make it human readable. And we got the sum of the evens as 50-50. And the sum of the odds is... I forgot to even check if I got the right amount. 25-50 for the odd numbers. Oh, okay, so I'm sorry, 50-50 is the sum of all the numbers between 0 to 100. The sum of all the odd numbers is 2500, and the sum of the evens is 25-50. You add that up, you get 50-50. All right, what am I doing here? Oh, okay, I think I'm supposed to add it and then store it in an array. So I just use template strings and use the dollar curly braces thing to get a... I know there's a name for that. Is that a template literal? I think it's called a template literal. I think. But yeah, I use it to just... you can use that in an array with a template string. And I push that into the sums array, so... What? Nothing log. Oh, okay, I have a log. I'm like, there's nothing showing up in my the costs. Oh yeah, there we go. It's logged. There you go. So here we're creating a script that generates 5 random numbers. It's basically math.random times a certain amount of number that creates a range for the number you want to iterate, you want to get up to, you want to generate up to. So math.random, I think, generates a number between 0 and 1. And then you multiply it by 10 or 100 to get whole numbers instead of decimals. In this case, I can't remember what I do. Okay, I multiplied by 100, right, to get a value from 0 to 100. And then I pushed it into the random numbers array. And since the loop iterates over 6 times, I think, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, less than 5 would be 5 times 0 to 4. So it will generate 5 random numbers, right? I think, yeah, 5 random numbers. So we got 1, 55, 14, 50, 18. It's gonna change every time I hit save. It should generate 5 random new numbers whenever I hit save. So those numbers are gonna change constantly. And here we're creating a script which generates 5 random numbers, and then the numbers should be unique. So yeah, math.random can generate the same numbers, duplicate numbers. So I think we had to do, okay, right. So this is the case where you pushing it into an array helps. I think we just check if the number is already in the array. And then we use dot includes. If it's not, if the number is not already in the array, then add it. If it's already in the array, then don't add it, right? So we're saying, I use the while loop, while random unique array dot length is less than 5, so it can generate five different items. Well, I think I made an error. Should it be, yeah, okay, no, it should be less than 5. Then or should be less than or equals to, shouldn't it? I feel like I messed that up. Then let random number equals math.floor, math and times 120. So I need a number between 0 and 120. If not, random unique arrays dot includes random number. No, that was right apparently. It gave me 5. And push that random number into the array. So it's just that extra step that, okay, if the number is already in the array, don't push it into the array. If it's not, then just push it into the array. So that's how we made it unique. There's something called sets, but we don't get to that until much later, where you create a set, and sets can only contain unique numbers or unique values. So yeah, but we'll get to sets much later. I think that's like, I don't know, I think that's all the way in like day 15 or day 14, I forget. But this is the for loop method for the same thing. We're basically just looping, but we don't increment until after things have gone into the array. So that if the number is in the array, it won't increment. Or should I say it doesn't increment until it finds a unique value. I know I'm not explaining that correctly, but it's supposed to it won't increment until it finds a unique value. So it doesn't count up. I'm not gonna try to explain the nuances of it, but you have to do the incrementing in the if statement after it's checked if the number is in the array. If you do it outside, I think it returns an array, but the array can be less than 5. So it'll give you a 2-number array instead of a 3 if that's what it got to before it found a unique number. It'll just return all the unique numbers it can find. All right, here we're creating a script with generated ID. Wait, that's not what we're doing here. I think I'm creating a script which generates random 6 characters. I feel like I'm doing so we're creating a small script which generates a random ID with 6 characters. So I created an array with a bunch of characters. I think I went from 0 to 9 and then 8 to G. So we're gonna draw from that array to create the characters, the ID. So anyways, it's just gonna be in a loop. I'm looping with a while loop. New ID the length less than or equal to 6, so to get an array of 6 things, and then we're gonna create a random index. The random index is math.float, math.random, and then that length of the array with the characters. So the way it can go through the characters array, which is one above with all the numbers and the letters. It's gonna go through it's gonna get the characters or the random index from the characters array. So it can be any of the indexes that contain those characters in the character array, and then it returns whatever is at that index. So if not new ID dot includes, I'm trying to see, but I can't see with that big helper. The tool, it's in a way. But yeah, so I logged it a few times just to show that it's random, right? So it's new ID dot includes character at random index, character array at the random index, and then we'll push that thing at that random index into the new ID array, and then we get there. But we only get characters from that array. That's because we did a character dot length, so we can use characters. Since the loop only generates indexes, you're not gonna be able to use it to get letters, and the ID has letters in it, so I had to create the array. But we're doing the same thing with a for loop. I think I was trying to check for uniqueness in this case too, which is why I didn't increment at the... Yeah, I think one thing I'd say now that I'm looking at it is just to stick to one loop method. So it's not to confuse yourself, because this looks so weird to me now that I'm looking at it. Like if I'm doing something that requires me to do that incrementing somewhere else, I think I'll just stick with a while loop. And if I need to do that if I don't need to do check for uniqueness or anything, I'll use a for loop. But it still came out well, so I guess it was the right method. But basically the same thing. The important part is creating the array of characters to draw from and knowing how to get to the indexes in the array you just created, which is creating a random index, which is just mathed off random times the length of the array. And you should math.floor it so you don't get any weird decimals. That's basically what math.floor prevents. Here we're creating a script which they're still the same exercise. We're just being extra. We're just doing 19 instead of 6. So we're generating a longer ID. Same thing, I created a character array with some characters, FE, etc. Created an array to push it into, which we're gonna join at the end to get a string. And then to get our random index, we math.floor times character array 2.length, which gives us, and then it returns whatever is at that random index. Well, we have to tell it to because it'll just return the index, not the item at that index. So if we don't tell it to push the character at that index, so character array 2 at the index of random index, it'll just push the number of the index. Whatever the random index is, it'll just push the number. So here we have a 19 characters. Now we're doing the same thing again, I think. Okay, this one, we're creating a script that generates random hex values. So hex values go from 0 to 9, and then it could be any capital A or A all the way up to H. It's used for colors. Well, I'm talking to the coding community, right? I don't need to explain what hexadecimal values. Anyway, so yeah. Same thing, we have to create an array, just an array that contains 0 to 9, and then A to F. Huh. Why did I think hexadecimals go all the way to H? I'm bugging out. But A to F, right? So yeah, that's basically the same thing. The length of the array times math.random, and then we floor the results, and then hex value array dot push the hex character at the index of random index. Right? It looks like I'm struggling too. Okay. Random index. So the character at the random index. And it'll generate a random, what do you call it? The part that might throw you off, because that's the part that threw me off when I first started, is how do I get the the hashtag in front of it? That you do with a template string. It's not something you need to do in a loop or anything. You just added a template using a template string, and you should be good to go. That threw me off so horribly when I first started coding. Because I always expect everything to require some kind of code, right? To work. So I'm always trying to code something that doesn't need to be coded, that it's just a string and you just write at the end. You don't need I would have been there for hours trying to figure out how to get the code to add that for me automatically. But yeah, it was just a template string with and the hashtag, and then you write template literals and whatnot. So create a script that generates a random RGB color of numbers. This one for the random index, I think I went up to 256 because RGB values go from 0 to 255, right? So when I'm doing the random index or random number, I use the 256 as the multiplier for the math.random. And that gives me a number from 0 all the way to 255, right? And then, we template string it at the end. So if RGB color array that includes the random number. Why am I'm doing another check? I guess I'm stuck in this uniqueness mode and I keep checking for uniqueness, but it doesn't have to be unique because random, RGB numbers can be 0, 0, 1 or 0, 255, 255, or they could all be 255, 255, 255. I'm stuck in the mode from the previous exercise. I just learned the new trick, so I couldn't stop using it throughout. I just kept spamming it. Weird. So there we have it. Waiting for this to be over. There we go. So we have the RGB, well, it's changing as usual. Now we're creating an array of lengths of the country names in the countries array. The array is included in the repo. It's a separate JS file that's linked in the script. So that's why it's logged and not showing on the screen, but it's basically in the console. So here we're just creating an array of the country names and the lengths. This one I use the for loop. I love the for of loop. It's such an easy. It's my favorite of all the loops. It's just easy. It's just a for let whatever of the array. So whatever you want the array to be of the current array that you're looping over. So here we're creating a for loop of let country of the countries array. So if you log country in the countries array, you just get a name of all the countries and then that length just to get the length of the country. And there we have our array. So we're creating another array. This one is just gonna say the name of the country. It's gonna abbreviate just by showing you the first three letters capitalized. Oh man, I missed the capitalized part. I don't know why I didn't think to do that. And then the length of the country. So basically you just use a for loop as usual. The country is the country. It's gonna generate the country. And then the abbreviation, I just sliced the first three letters. I used a slice, so it was easy. And then same thing as we did previously, the length of the country. All right, and then I'm just gonna push it all into the info array to give it that look from the previous, from the example. Yeah, basically, right? Just the country name followed by the ab. Should have taken out to uppercase, but I didn't notice that they were uppercased, so I forgot that part. But it should be uppercased to make it look more like an abbreviation. I didn't do that. I didn't notice. It was like early in the morning. I was sleepy. I just came home from work. My eyes were half closed. I was like, I gotta get this done. But yeah, there you have it. You can't really see it. I mean, hopefully you check out the repo. If you check out the repo, it's all solved and it's up there on the repo. I'll leave the link in the description if you want to go over there and look. Here we're using the countries array. Log all the countries with land and their names to the console. If they're none, then log no country contains the word land. So this one, also another easy one, still just using what we learned in the previous chapters. We're using the dot includes method here to check if the country includes land. I think the lesson is learning to use the loop to loop through the array. That's the big lesson. And then that way you don't have to manually type the name of all the countries. You won't be stuck. You have to do it manually, basically. So the for loop saves you the trouble of doing that. So we looped through it, found, and then we asked it to check if the country includes land. If there's land in it, then we push it into the includes land array. And then we created another if statement after that checks if the array, that is, if includes land dot length doesn't have any countries in it. That is, if the length of the array is 0, then log. I'm confused. I'm reading that wrong. If includes land dot length, okay, is greater than 0. I was like, what the fuck? If if there is something in the array, log whatever is in the array, or else, that is, if there's nothing in the array, then just say that no country contains the word land. So doing the same thing again, we're checking for IA this time. All the countries that have IA in their names, like Albania, Bolivia, or Ethiopia. So we're basically doing the same check. We'll use the dot includes method to check if the country contains it. And then saying if statement, that states whether that logs the country name, or if there's no country in the array, then it logs there are no countries with IA in their name. I realize just how slowly I type. There's no confidence in my keystrokes at all. I'll be so lost, like, am I getting this right? Am I doing this wrong? No country contains the characters. Okay, I know what's going on. The wording is a bit off to me. So I went back and switched it up just to fix, the wording issue that was throwing me off. So it should be no country contains the characters IA. A bit of a grammar Nazi. Shit like that be throwing me off. I'd be like stuck. But there we have it. All the IA countries: Albania, Algeria, Armenia, Australia, Austria, Bolivia, Bosnia, Herzegovina. I created a little mini array just to make sure that the code worked. That's what you just saw. That's why there were no countries that contain the word land. So now we're trying to find a country with the longest name. This one just dependent on length of the country names. That's what I used anyway. Like, I just found the lengths. I created an array with all the countries, the length of the countries, and then I just returned the country with at that index with the longest length. That's the basic of it. It took a little doing. It took some math. But basically, when you create the array, you can use math.max on it. But you don't have to sort it. If you don't use math.max, then you have to, for original way I went up what it was about, I created a length array, then I sorted it, and then I sliced the first index. I just returned the first thing at the top of the sorted array. Then I checked, and GPT was like, nah, you could use math.max directly. And it just saved me a few extra lines of code. Like, that removed like 3 or 4 lines of code. So yeah, I went with that method instead. So once I created a length array, I just math.maxed it, and it returns the highest index, or the highest value. So it was 24, I think. But then there were 2 countries with 24 characters, which caused an issue because it kept returning just the first one. And I'm like, yeah, but there are 2 countries with that length. So then I figured that you had to, instead of returning that, I had to push it into an array. Yeah, see here, it's returning just East Timor, Timor. But there's also one other country, and it was throwing me off. Like, why can't I return both? I don't know why I expected it to return both values since I'm only returning one index. And it's just returning the first index. But for some odd reason, I kept expecting it to return both for some odd reason. But yeah, so I went back. I took a step back and looked at it, and I realized that, okay, I should sort first, just to make sure that there was only one country. So when I sorted, there were two countries with a length of 24. I went to ChatGPT. But it was a very easy solution that instead of returning just the index, push it into an array. That way it can return both values instead of just returning that first index. So there we go. We pushed the countries, all the countries that have the same length as the max value, which is 24, into a new array. And we got Central African Republic and East Timor. And there we go. Next, we're gonna find the countries with only 5 characters in their names. Very easy, just length, which all the countries with a length of 5. Push them into an array. This one was pretty easy. This one just requires length. It's all just length exercises. It looked difficult when I first started. When I looked at it, and I'm like, how the hell am I gonna do that? I was gonna use a reduce. I was gonna be reducing stuff, and I'm like, wait. It's just the length. It's nothing. No reason for the panic. No reason to panic. Well, yeah, you just find the length. Once you find the length, that's basically the whole exercise. The longest word, that is the word with the most characters. And that's the length. Stuff like that just seems way more difficult for some odd reason when you like at this level. I don't know. Like, I think you're overthinking it, and you're realizing that the code is supposed to make it easier, not harder. You're trying to do excessive or natural things with the code, as if that it's just the code is just there to do what you do in normal life, but translate it to computer language, I guess. But you're just like, you don't need to overthink it. And surprisingly, coding, you don't have to do the math in coding, right? Like, the math is already done for you. You just have to be able to tell the code to do what you want it to do, right? You don't gotta do any complex calculations or anything. You gotta know how to tell it to do the complex calculations and whatnot for you, right? It's basically already done. So anyways, what are we doing here? I think here we're finding the longest word in web text. I don't know why I went through that whole thing. Okay, but yeah, shouldn't have taken that many lines of code. Well, I guess I needed to visually see it, so I did a lot of logging. But basically just looped through the tech length array. Web text array. Found the length of the web text. I stored it in the tech length array. Then I took the maximum value of the tech length array. That is how you put an array in math.max, by the way. You have to use the spread operator on it. If you don't use the spread operator on it, it doesn't work. You have to spread out. I think it returns just one value. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. I forget. But I later realized that I had to spread the array whenever I put it in the method. And then so for let tech of web text, if tech.length equals to max val, most characters dot push tech. I think if you use a for loop in this case, you can just do an inner loop. simple. I just kept it simple and separate because I'm not at that level where I can be looping within loops without confusing myself. So here we're just creating a new array with all the characters at the index of 0 for all the other for the characters in the original array. MERN being MongoDB, Express, React, and Node.js or Node. I usually used to people saying Node.js, but it's Node, right? Okay, so we're looping check of web text array, and then we just returns all the characters at the index of 0. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. I say that and I start struggling with it. That'll be it. Well, no, okay, all right. So yeah, there we go. It should log MERN. And there you have it. So now we're iterating through the array again using a for loop and a for loop. So here he's just showing, we're just testing to know if we can do it in both. We're using both methods. In the case of the for loops, we just use a web text.length now because we're not generating numbers. And then we just log what's at I at the index of I. What I meant earlier about the I just being index, it's just generating the number. It'll always return a number which represent an index in the array you are looping over if you're looping through an array, not the actual value at that index. So if you want the value at the index, you have to put web text at the index of I, which is at the index of index, basically. And then for the for of loop, that's why I prefer the for of loop. Everything's just it's human readable. So you just log tech. You don't have to worry about any indexes. You just log whatever tech is. But you can log the index of text of tech. But anyway, here we're reversing the order of the provided array without using the reverse method. This is using a for loop, and we're gonna do it backwards, right? We're gonna decrement instead of increment. And we start from the last index, which is the array.length -1. That'll give us the value of the last item. And then we're going I greater than 0, 0 being the first index, right? Because JavaScript is 0 breaks, base 0 greater than or equal to 0. So we're going from 0 all the way to the last. We're going from the last item all the way down to 0, and the loop should stop at 0. And we're decrementing instead of incrementing. So it's console.log and then for the array at the index of I. And there you go, it's backwards. All right, next we're going to log all the contents of the web text array without putting them in an array. So it's basically the same thing. We're looping through it. We're gonna console.log the text, and then we're just gonna join. We're gonna use a join on it and join them by I think it's space. How am I still stuck on that? Okay, I pushed it into an array to look back. I'm like, what the hell? That should be over and done with. All right, so we have lemon, we have mango, it's all backwards. Like I said, this one's just a simple join. And then by a space, by a comma, I use the comma. If you want them to be on like on top of each other, block style, I think you just use the new line. Here we're using a countries array. Copy the array without mutating it. I use the spread operator method. You can also copy the array by using a slice and not put in any values for the start and the finish, and it'll just return the whole array, a new array with everything in the array. So basically slice the whole array and return that. But the spread operator is the one I usually use. It's easy for me to remember. But you can also create a copy of an array by slicing. Just making sure. All right, then we're sorting the copied array. So we're sorting and stored an array called sorted countries. So I just created a new array called sorted country, which is equal to new countries, which is the second array that's also included in the repo. It's also linked with the other script. It's a JS file. And so after we sort, then we log the sorted countries. And here we're sorting the web text array. And what are we doing after sorting it? And the merge stack array. I don't know why level 3 was so easy this time. I thought it was like a methodology where it goes from difficult to the simplest to difficult to the most difficult. But no, it's pretty random. Like sometimes level 1 is really, really hard, and then level 3 is really easy. Sometimes level 1 and 3 are really, really easy, and then level 2 is just like takes forever. It's like really all the hard stuff. So there doesn't seem to be any real trick to it, I guess you could say. It's just, questions to test you if you understood the knowledge. Like I said, this is from the Azabena repo. The original repo is on GitHub. I'll link it in the description if you want to go check it out. It's a pretty good repo. It cleared up a lot of JavaScript things for me. Like I came out of it with a better understanding of JavaScript. I highly recommend it for anyone if you want to check it out. It's very good. Most of the stuff seems to still be applicable. It's kind of old. It's it's been around for a while. So yeah, that's something to think about. But most of it still seems pretty applicable. But for like understanding the basics of how things work, it's a great repo. It's helped me out. Put all the countries from the countries array with the word land and then names in a new array, which is basically what we were doing already. If you like this video, please like, subscribe. I need your likes and I need your subscribes so that I can make more videos. Not really, but I do need your likes and subscribes so that I know people are watching these videos and they're not just sitting on YouTube not getting any views. But I guess YouTube would tell me if I was getting views anyway, right? But yeah, so here we're finding the countries. Or check out the original repo. I forgot what I flew off on a tangent there. Check out the original repo by Azabena for the lessons. Like if you're confused by a lot of this stuff, it's a good repo. Check it out. That's what I was trying to say. All right, so find the countries with the longest name in the countries to array. Seems like we did this already too, right? Just same thing. Find the length and using the length, return whatever countries at that index with that length, right? All right. I'm waiting for the typing, by the way, if you're wondering. That's how slowly I am typing at this point. I am about to fall asleep on my keyboard. I am worn out, but we're good. We're pushing through. Like 3 more questions. We gonna get it through. So find the array, find the length, sort it, use the, well, now you don't even need to sort, because math.max can just get it without sorting, and then push it into an array. And presto, voila, the Dominican Republic with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 characters. So we're doing countries with 4 letters in their names again, which is an if statement. You know, if the length of the length is only 4, if it's equal to 4, we return that country. We'll push it into an array in our case, so it'll log in an array. Excuse me. We're almost there. Four characters got pushed, the country, then we log the 4 characters array, and there you have it. Fiji, that Iran, Iraq, Laos, and Mali. So put all the countries with 2 or more words in their names, and they're on an array. This one seemed difficult at first. I was a little confused. But then I realized that if I put them all in, if I pushed all the countries into an array, then that array, if I check the length of that array, then the ones with 2 names would have 2 items in the array. That is, the length of the array would be 2 or more, depending on how many words there were in the name of the country. So once I created an array with all the words, well, which we did with the loop, then I had to create another array that contains just the country and its length, I think. Right, so okay, I split it by space, and then I checked the new array, right, for its length. So if it had more than two or more words in it, then I pushed it into the 2-worded array, else just left it out. I think that's what I did, right? All right, so if the length search that greater than or equal to 2, push it into the 2-worded array. Otherwise, forget about it. And then I log the 2-worded array. It seemed like it would be difficult at first, but I just realized that just make it an array, and then just return arrays with more than one, the length of 1. And we got the Czech Republic, Dominican Republic, El Salvador, Equatorial Guinea, the Gambia, North Korea, South Korea, and the Marshall Islands. Now we're creating a new array with all the countries and the countries 2 array in reverse order and capitalize their name. So okay, we looped, and then we capitalized the name of all the countries, and then outside we just used the reverse. I think I forgot to push it into an array. All right, so in the loop, we wanted to capitalize the name of all the countries. And then we'll log the capitalized countries array reversed. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. But yeah, there you have it. Day 6 complete. I forget what day 7 is, but we'll find out. So there's a report card from Copilot using GPT 4.1. Seems we passed. All right. see you guys next time. Like I said, please like and subscribe so we can get you more videos. Comment your suggestions for content. I'll take that in the comments. Until next time, peace out.